Of course, she told me I must have enjoyed it because I was hard. Lost my virginity without my consent. I was at my very first high school party and had a few drinks. I was a smaller dude at the time, and this large girl said she needed to tell me something. So, I followed her into the furnace room and she threw me on the ground. I was trying to get her off of me, but it didn't work. Of course, she told me I must have enjoyed it because I was hard. I never really talked to anyone about it until I met my girlfriend, and she asked why I was so concerned about consent. I'm alright with what happened, but it was still very frustrating and angering. I'm happy it's in the past and that I'll never have to see that bitch again. My best friend in high school killed himself. Nobody had any idea why. Until his dad told us his babysitter and her boyfriend abused him from the ages of 6 to 10. He had always hidden this from everyone but obviously struggled. He had been doing counseling for years. Just turned 16 and got a new car for his birthday. Was on the varsity football team. Took all honors classes. Shit will F you up. R.I.P. Tanner. Abused by the kindergarten teacher's assistant regularly when I was 4 to 5, I definitely wasn't the only victim as a classmate of mine showed outward fear of her. She was never caught. I was too young to understand what she was doing to me, and any outcry by the other kid was deemed as him being fussy or telling lies. I can only pray she no longer has any contact with children today. Got shit-faced at a friend's house. Her sister was very into me. Was not quite blackout drunk but definitely couldn't drive anywhere. So, I had to crash at her house. Other friends were more responsible and left around 12 a.m. I think. I vaguely remember her groping me and her talking about wanting to put her ass to me. I don't recall responding. In my haze I remember her unbuckling my pants and I eked out no, because I had a girlfriend. I recall her writing me reverse cowgirl, but I was still in a haze. Thought it was a dream. Next morning, I was sick as a dog and wasn't sure what happened. It wasn't until I got a call from my friend later that day and asked why I cheated on my girlfriend. That's when I went cold and realized I didn't dream it. I actually got banged while drunk off my ass. Went and got an STD test after and came up clean, thank God. I never told my girlfriend because I knew she wouldn't believe me. Friend ripped her sister a new one and I never went back to their apartment. I was 13, she was 19, she groomed me into thinking that we were in a relationship but had to hide it so she didn't go to jail. Then when her parents were going to kick her out due to her cocaine habit, she threw it in their face that she was banging her younger brother's best friend. They were mad at me, the goddamn 13-year-old. My own parents were ambivalent about the whole situation but still never called the cops, and if it hadn't been for a life-changing accident that I was in later that year, there's a good chance I'd have seen more fallout directed at me. Honestly, it took me over a decade for me to realize just what she did to me, what her parents and my parents had allowed her to get away with, and how wrong it all was. Damn, I used to brag about how early I lost my V card. That's what society had convinced me I was supposed to feel. Now all that I feel is disgust and a wish that my next sexual encounter at age 16 had been my first one. My ex-girlfriend and I were working a weird alternating shift where sometimes I'd be working late and other times be working early. In one of these alternations, I needed to sleep ASAP, so I took a sleeping pill and went to bed. About an hour later, enter ex-girlfriend, drunk off her ass after quitting her job and going out. The whole time I thought she was at work, forced herself on me after repeated failed attempts. I was half out of it and she would not stop. After about an hour of her non-stop advances and not taking no for an answer, I just gave in so she could get it over with and leave me the hell alone. This was about 10 years ago, it still sticks and I hate that it happened. She would constantly quit her jobs and she would always drink her terrible decisions away. She needed to be on meds, serial cheater, emotionally and one-time physical abuser. Although she is finally healthy and doing good nowadays. I hate that I had to be the brunt of this woman's shitty decisions. I hated that I lived with her and had to suffer in silence until I was financially and legally allowed to go my separate way. I hate to sound like a victim here, but people keep saying it is abuse. When I was 13 or 14, I was at a neighbor's house getting high and she and I ended up having sex with each other for a few months. Anal, oral, fisting, etc. I was eventually sent to a drug rehab after my mother found out and it ended. It kind of effed me up because it gives a pretty warped view of sex, age limits, and consent. Fast forward 40 years and I was going to another city for work and told my wife I had to get up early and didn't want to. She waited till I took an Ambien and then climbed on top. I didn't realize it until the next day when it all came crashing back while on the flight and I remembered her jamming her foot in my mouth and saying, "Eat my foot," while we were having sex. When I was in my early teens, I was cornered at a YMCA by one of the workers who took advantage of me. She asked me if I could help her with something, and led me into a side closet area down a long hallway. She closed the door behind us and did the deed while I just sat there frozen. I'll spare the details, but it has severely colored my perception since then. I have a hard time being intimate with anyone, and it was like 17 years ago. I was 15. She was 25. I was on this youth council thing in high school. Was an honor, I guess. Represented my high school at the round table kind of thing. Anyways, she was our sponsor. Authority figure for sure. Oversaw us basically. Well, at the end of my sophomore year, she asked me to go to this Depeche Mode concert and I was like, hell yeah. She was beautiful. I was definitely up for it. But what I wasn't up for was being fed sun-kissed and peach schnapps in a giant quick shop cup on the way home. I had never drunk before that night. And I also wasn't up for waking up in her bed the next morning completely naked and confused and unable to recall anything after that concert. It messed with my head big time and for a long time. Hell, I still think about it at age 43. Honestly, I don't know if this counts, but is extremely uncomfortable. I am gay, always been, and because of this, I like to go to gay bars. Nowadays it's common that straight girls go to these places with their gay friends or even with their girl groups, because they feel safer than in normal ones. I don't have a problem with that, but it's weird that many times, a girl will start dancing with you, in a friendly manner, you know, the Yas Queen type of interaction between gays and girls, but some will then try to kiss you and even touch your genitals or your butt. Personally, it has happened to me 5 or 6 times. When I refused, they said things like, "Oh, it's just an innocent kiss between girls, it's alright, I don't count, but look at it, my ass, it's so firm, how could I not squeeze it?" I know there are guys that don't have a problem with this, but it really disgusts me and they should not act like all of us are okay with that. A girl drugged my drink in a party freshman year of college. I remember literally going to sleep where I was, woke up to her on top of me in the backseat of my car. I think, it's still all pretty hazy. I never talked to anyone but a couple friends about this and they kind of laughed, 2 of whom are female. This happened about 2015. I was 19, around 6'3", I'm African American, and about 166 pounds, I didn't know what to do about it, so I basically stayed silent because who would take me seriously? Probably wasn't the best decision, but I didn't want to go through the constant laughing, when I was actually assaulted. I've only told one person about this, but this is a throwaway account anyways. I was 11 years old and my aunt and uncle were visiting from a couple states away. This was the cool uncle who would let you drink some of his beer or let you cuss in front of him, so I was always really excited when they visited. That night I was up much later than usual hanging out with everyone, trying my best to stay up but was failing. My aunt saw that I was fading and said she was tired too and she'd take me inside. She took me to my room and started asking inappropriate questions like if I've ever seen a naked woman or felt certain parts. I obviously had not. She proceeded to show me those things and started touching me. After that she told me to lay on the floor. She abused me. Twice. I hated my body for so long. Every erection I got for years made me sick. I told myself I obviously enjoyed it since I got hard during. I found out later that it also happened to my brother. He was strong enough to tell our parents. I don't think I ever will. I am married now and healing, but I still sometimes panic when I'm alone in a room with a woman. Anyone who reads this and went through something similar, it doesn't go away. But it does get easier to live with. You are strong. I read a good book with a quote that has stuck with me. Accept the pain, but don't accept that you deserved it. It's not the greatest quote of all time or incredibly profound, I just really like how simple but effective it was. Keep fighting and keep living. Thanks for listening to Reddit Rundown. Give a thumbs up and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subs. Leave a comment below on what kind of topics or stories you would like to hear. You can also check out other videos on my channel. Thanks and have an awesome day.